Welcome to Herstory Revisited, where we explore more than you ever wanted to know about things you've never heard of. Together we uncover the hidden threads of the past through the eyes of women, the unsung sheroes, innovators, and peacemakers who shaped the world in ways history failed to acknowledge. Woven through these stories is a golden thread, the evolution of humanity and human consciousness. From pilgrims to pioneers, from forgotten voices to transformative moments, we explore history through the lens of the divine feminine. Because history isn't just his story, it's her story too. Welcome to Herstory Revisited. In February of 2026, a giant hole happened in the sun, a coronal mass ejection so large that it almost looks like the sun is splitting in half. So we have a discussion about what would it look like to have a binary star system on our Earth, and could people even survive? So we're going to talk about that. Stay tuned. Hello, folks.
Hi.
We're recording right now because there's a lot of monumental things happening in planetary alignment, and a lot of really incredible things happening out in space. Planetary alignment, interstellar objects, 3I Atlas being the most important one. And 3I Atlas went into the sun.
That's right.
And it went in green and it came back blue.
Right.
And the reason why we're tripping about it is the Hopi prophecies talked about the blue star Kachina. And when the blue star Kachina came, that would be the great transition, where humanity will come together as one family and time itself will change. And so...
Now, yesterday you showed me that NASA, there's actually a photo of the sun that shows a huge black spot in the middle, showing that the sun looks like it's cracking to
it's 3/4 of the way penetrated, where it's literally splitting in half.
It's splitting in half.
And we're having two suns. And the interesting thing...
That could lead to two suns. I mean, we don't know for a fact, but what is tripping us with that piece of information now, this is a scientific... information that came from NASA. This is not some channel material or anything. Is how many years ago did we meet? We met Don Alejandro Oxlage. He was the keeper of the Mayan calendar and the Mayan wisdom, and we interviewed him at the airport in Oakland
in 2006.
In 2006, and because this was like 2012 is coming. What does that represent? Should we be scared? And we asked him.
And he was going, "No, hija." He was like, "Don't worry. It's not the Earth that is ending, it's the sun."
Right. And he said he was going to go supernova, and it would
He didn't say supernova. He did not say that. He said there would be two suns,
right,
and time would have to change.
Right. But before
he said there would be two suns.
There would be two suns.
And that time would have to change.
That's correct. And the calendar
And what is crazy,
end.
what is tripping us out is that it seems like a lot of the channeled material and the UFO people and whatever, after, especially around the 1111 portal in 2025, when 3I Atlas showed up, that there was all this channeled material around the world buzzing about communication with this object.
Right.
And whether or not the object was a ship,
friend or foe, and just
was it a threat to Earth?
Right.
Was it a comet that was going to collide with Earth?
Right.
Was there anything that NASA needed to do to mobilize? And so, for any of us that were born in the 60s,
we're the end of the boomer.
It almost seems like since the 60s, we have been told the end of the world was coming.
Well, yeah.
And I think it's because of the nuclear age, the nuclear generation, because no nukes was the big thing. when we were teenagers.
Well, you growing up here with the Cuba, the missile crisis and all of that was
Cuban
very
Missile
real.
Crisis was 1963. I was 2 years old.
Right. But that fear probably did not just stop at that point. It was recurring. The Cold War and all of that was.
Well, I think the point is that if you have been part of the consciousness movement, which we have been, part of the New Age movement, on the side gig of our software tech career, we found ourselves in a lot of circles of kooky people, all kinds of people that were channeling spirits from ancient times, people that were psychic soldiers, people, seriously.
Yes, all kinds of people.
Berkeley Psychic Institute, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory is right next to Netscape, right next in Mountain View, which is Google's campus now.
Right.
And Facebook is our campus. We were at Sun Microsystems.
Yeah.
They literally turned our sign upside down.
They flipped it. How dare they?
Anyway, if you have been navigating through these thought leader circles as we have, particularly in multilingual technology, because it's this bridging thing and you're always trying to bring cultures together. And we also produced and worked in many international peace conferences, interfaith gatherings, and very sacred spaces where very sincere people are wishing for the evolution of humanity.
Absolutely.
But Don Alejandro is an important point for us because the Mayan calendar was such a big looming thing over my generation, over the the entire awakening, and there was an interesting moment that happened in 1987 called the harmonic convergence. And our friend Helen was interpreter for the Mayan calendar keeper at that event, and Jose Arguelles and his wife, Laura Dean, I think her name is.
Yes.
I forgot that. Anyway, and Chief Arvel Looking Horse of the Lakota Sioux, and there were many elders from the Hopi, from the Kogi, from the Maya, from the Navajo, from the Tibetans even, from the Sami in Norway.
Yes.
A lot of indigenous tribal people were showing up at international peace conferences like the ones we produced and others that we attended.
That's right.
And they all had the same theme, which was, we are a human family. We are one. We need to operate as one when we consider ourselves galactically.
Yes.
When we consider ourselves part of a star family.
Yes. And mind you, many of these tribal indigenous people have shared, not to the whole wild world, but have shared that they have been in contact with other beings from other galaxies and probably other times that have guided them. So it's, even when we think, they're indigenous, they're from the past and they're keeping ancient kind of thing, they've also be connected to kind of what's ahead of us, the civilizations probably that are ahead of us because they started before we did.
Western civilization seems to have a hard time with the idea of animism, but the cosmogony of almost all of the Americas, from what I've found, almost all of the Americas have a religious and spiritual doctrine that includes the stars and the beings from the stars, that includes the earth and the elements from the earth.
And all my relations, all the beings that are on it. But this is the amazing thing. This is like tripping my mind. We did start it with animism, and it was all over the planet. This was just like, some tribals here and there. Industrial age, the church, separating the invisible world from the visible. So science, you will deal with the visible stuff, we will deal with invisible things. And created this fission, this separation of perception and having to keep them in different camps. With quantum physics now, it's proved that everything is entangled. The space there's no vacuum in anywhere. It's all filled, but our eyes couldn't see it's like you look at the stars, you only see the little dots. But if you were to shine a different light, you'd see that they're all entangled. They're in field. We know that there's force field that maintain asteroid, and planets within particular, ways that they rotate, they do their stuff. And so now, with science, which is still dealing with the physical, the matter, is explaining the invisible part of it, because if everything is entangled, then all has the spirit. And we go back to the animism through a long journey where we went out going, oh no, everything is material, we have to see the experience and be able to repeat it.
There has to be a physical matter, there has to be invasive species, there have to be man against nature, and that's been so much a theme. If you study comparative religion and comparative literature, when you're studying languages, you can't avoid that it's always deity, and it's always cosmogony. It's always this worldview of your relationship to universe and how universe operates with you.
Right.
And particularly this idea of co-architecting, whether is the world happening to you, or are you happening to the world, or are we all making it up?
Right.
And if we're all making it up, shouldn't we make it better?
Right.
And give peace a chance then becomes part of an overarching infiltrate to illuminate. Like, we picked up this mission. We had this wand, self-appointed wand. Yeah. Because we went to a school that was training people for the intelligence services, for the State Department and the European Union and whatever. And that's what we thought we wanted to do. But I really didn't want to work for government or intergovernment. I wanted to find a place where we could dance through all of them. And as management consultants, we were given that opportunity. And so that's what this channel is really all about, is to explain the unraveling of the consciousness movement as we have seen it in different global stages, because interfaith is a nexus point. When you take the true spiritual practitioners, the ones that are actually meditating, actually praying, actually looking for and trying to create places of gathering around peace. When you take the peacemakers and you put them in one place, there is a magic.
Yeah.
Man.
There is.
There's a synchronicity of human.
There is the way I'm seeing it is everything is evolving. Just like we're babies, we're on the ground, and we're on 4, then we're on 2, then we stand up, then we find our balance. We all do that. I think every organism goes through its process. But if you think about religions and all the religions, the people that you're talking about are spiritual beings before they're religious. Religious separates, spirituality connects. And so when we go to these places where these representative, but not really of their particular faith, they are in some ways, are not threatened by the others, because once you have the experience, it's like my menu is the real menu, but my food is the only food. Your food is not food. My food is your food, And then you go, let's sit down and have do you know what? Our food, we have potatoes, we have rice, we have beans, we have lentils, we have tofu, the food.
We like to describe the world through food.
I do. Well, it is something that's universal to.
As soon as I explained to Sophie that concrete is really like cake batter, she became interested.
No, but I mean it's true, because it's we're made of these elements, and it's in everything we do.
No, but this is what's tripping us right now, relative to our human discussion, to this discussion of consciousness awakening. And to the consciousness movement in itself. Because for 40 years, we've been together. And for 40 years, we've been uncovering, discovering, and recovering connections. And we have been connectors. And it's been a real privilege to be part of, because we were actually able to meet some of our heroes and work with them. And so we want to talk about those things on this channel as well.
Yes.
And we will at some point. But right now, in this time, in this place, this image was put out by NASA yesterday saying that there's a coronal mass ejection that is literally 3/4 of the way through the sun, and the sun has this giant hole in it right now.
Right. I mean, it is frightening when you see the size of it compared to the size of the sun. It's not like a crack.
And the Schumann resonance has begun to alter dramatically in the last few days.
I didn't know
The
that.
Schumann resonance is the heartbeat of the earth.
From the core to the crust. From the core
We
to
lived
the
in
crust.
Boulder Creek, California for a little while.
Yeah.
And up in Boulder Creek, California is the HeartMath Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And before the internet, it was a sensation, their discoveries, before anyone even knew.
Right.
They were coming out with these
coherence.
newsletters talking about a coherence between, they had proven mathematically that the human heart is in sympathetic resonance with the heartbeat of the earth. Ergo heart math. And they were working out a this is before supercomputers were really
Way before, yeah.
well, not way before, but right about the time
Really?
of at
Yeah,
the
I
same time
suppose,
of
yeah,
the
I
harmonic
suppose.
convergence.
Yeah, you're right.
I really think the HeartMath Institute was super interesting in its contribution to consciousness awakening because of that information. And honestly, for me personally, I have a lot of karma with Native Americans. I've had a lot of,
Because of your ancestors.
well, and because of us in our peace conferences,
Yes.
we would always end up with one indigenous leader, some elder that was just there to anchor and to bring in peace. And for anybody who's been in interfaith conferences, they are always present. I've never been in one
That's true.
that they have not been
That's true.
present.
That's true.
And we have been privileged to be part of ceremony with the Navajo, with the Hopi, with the Maya, with
the Lakotas,
the Lakota,
the Zunis,
the Zuni, I mean so many
yes,
beautiful people that are really trying to honor their ancestors by holding the grid lines.
right.
Because those were oral stories. The white people came into America and dismissed the Americans as ignorant
Yeah.
because they hadn't written stuff down.
Right. And they
yet,
didn't understand.
But they actually had, the Maya had records dating thousands and thousands of years.
yeah, they burned the codices.
They had
burned
a
them.
library of Alexandria that was burned by the conquistadores.
That's right.
And so a lot of the records of the ancient history of humanity was lost with that. Just like the Library of Alexandria when Santorini blew and Alexandria, Egypt, went underwater. They've discovered, marine archaeologists are discovering those now.
Wow.
I love archaeology. I love ancient human is where future human is going to recircle back.
Yeah.
Because it's a snake eating its own tail. And the Yugas and the Indian traditions, the Tamil particularly, the area of where the Mahabharata and the really ancient books of India and the really ancient books of Tibet that haven't even been translated yet or transcoded yet. And AI has the capability of doing that. I can hardly wait for that discovery.
That's true.
And what happens when that library opens up. But the point is, the ancient libraries are lost, and a lot of them are hidden and have been protected by secret societies.
For a reason. Because another thing you and I have been tracking for not eons, because we haven't been around that long in this
well,
body.
not in this lifetime.
Not in this body. But there are cosmic cycles that go over tens of thousands of years, and it's cyclical. It's not like random. It's literally cyclical.
24,600 years, which is very interesting when you consider that 24,600 is how many miles the Earth is at its fat point.
That is interesting.
It's the belt line.
But the reason why I'm mentioning that,
equator.
the reason why I'm mentioning that in cyclicality of it is there is half of that cycle is ascending, and half of that cycle is descending.
So it's a waxing and a waning.
Just like the moon, just
yugas.
like the yuga, etc. And so
there's a golden age that goes for almost 12,000 years.
But in that golden age, time expands. Lives, we live long lives. There's no disease, there's no war, there's no scarcity, there's none of that. There's more light. So in that light, other things we physically probably altered, and our intelligence, our ability to interact with each other, all the stuff that we're afraid of in the dark, that's why people don't like the dark, are not there anymore because you're in the light cycle. But apparently it's recycled. It goes light
so does
to
that
dark.
mean we end up like Norway where you have very little dusk and you have mostly dawn?
Well, that could be, and some places on Earth are like that. If you go in the Arctic, you have no nights. You literally at 2 a.m. it's bright.
What we've been tripping about this morning.
Going back full circle to the sun, possibly
splitting into
two, and then
and that's what Don Alejandro said.
I know.
The Mayan calendar keeper.
He also said that there would be 3 days of darkness. Only 3 days of darkness, nothing to be scared of. Just be home, be with your family.
Be centered.
But be centered, because your own light is kind of the only thing that you would have. And that would probably be a reset into a new world that is based on 2 suns. So I went this morning and went into ChatGPT going,
read that part.
What would a world, what would a planet that with 2 suns be like for the inhabitant on that planet?
What would it be like for us on Earth if our sun were not going supernova, but if our sun were to split and we had 2 suns, would they move away from one another? Would that change time entirely? Would it change the seasons? And maybe global warming and all of the things we've been doing with climate change is part of that natural cycle that seems to be unfolding. But right here, right now, 2026. Is go time. It seems.
And by the way, there are planets in the universe that have 2 suns. So if we've gone by them, I think they've studied a little bit how that would affect their force field.
So what she's going to read, what we were tripping on, and the reason why we're recording right now, is because I said, Sophie, what would it be like, if we had 2 suns? Would we be would the yin yang be such that light and shadow split from one another? Because if the Galactic Federation is saying that what happened after 3i Atlas was all this channeled information from Pleiadians and the Arcturian Council and the Vegan Council and the Lyrans and the Syrians and we were like, wow, just trying on the idea of what if all galactic civilizations of consciousness could bring their consciousness to one place at one time. And if they did, would that ignite this planet? And would all of humanity and our common consciousness, the part of our DNA that we all share, the root of our tree, what if the root of our tree sent out a totally different pulse? Couldn't there be humanity's awakening all in one pulse?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be instant because it's been a journey.
But we've been talking about the Mayan calendar, and we want to go a little bit more deeply in other episodes about the Mayan calendar. But Ian Lungold and the information that Sophie and I found 20 years ago, and that man has passed on, and Don Alejandro is passed on now, and Helen's 80, and we're old.
Hey, train is moving. So are we.
Time itself may be changing, and in a binary star system, maybe there is more light than darkness, and maybe the 7 days of light and the 6 days of darkness that were the Mayan calendar counting system prior now changes to a different counting system with more light and less darkness.
Well, yeah, but we're in 3 dimension here, the 2 becomes 3. No, I mean we're still but it's true that in just like when you on a piano, when you hit a C here, you can hear the C below. It's all contained. So we might predominantly live in what we call 3 dimension,
but we have like a shadow.
But the 4th, the 5th is here. Just like the radio dials are all there. You might be listening to AM radio because you like a channel. But the other dials are above it. You just have to switch from one to the other. So it is possible that with a 2 sun, a dual sun, now regulating the phenomena and things on the planet, we would be receiving more light. So fourth dimension has to have more light than third and second and first kind of thing. And then as you go up in the dimension, so if we do that shift that has been predicted, prophesized, but we don't, more light, more information, meaning more ability, more awareness, more consciousness, more presence, more understanding, and therefore more communing with what's around us, because and quantum physics is basically tells it's all entangled. So we are definitely seeing in the physical world, even in the very tangible material 3D world, that escorting us into that fourth
cracks
dimension.
In the matrix.
To help us do that.
Matrix.
It's not just it's happening in our mind and the world, it's down here. It's all happening. The Earth is increasing its frequencies. We might get help from the sun. That's actually no sun, no life, right? The sun is
but
everything.
2 suns, maybe more life, or maybe a life that is lighter and less dense, with more light and less shadow. And maybe the yin yang itself is no longer duality, maybe no longer a binary equation. Maybe binary, because binary code is sort of the old internet, and now we're moving toward quantum.
Well, yeah, it's not zeros and one. It's not 0 or 1. It's 0, 1, and 0 and 1. So because it's you could binary is zeros and one. It's the switch is either on or off. But you can't have to do on and off. It's the third one. It's a third possibility that's on top of the other two. So it's not linear. So we would go from linear, as a beginning, the middle, and the end. So the time that we're seeing, to multidimensional, which has some linear, but it's in this way too, not just horizontal, past, present, future. It's
so then
it goes
we're experiencing all of our lifetimes in the now.
Yeah, there's only now.
There only ever was.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gone again.
Oh,
it's then.
What time is it? It's now.
Is it now? When is now again? Oh no, but really, I do want you to share what you were just reading to me about what AI has to say of what life would be like for all of us,
right,
in a binary star.
Yeah, that's
system.
Correct. That's correct.
Because the astrophysicists have been saying for years now that possibly the Earth before the it may not be the Big Bang. We might have been a binary star.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, yeah.
And maybe we're returning to that.
It's very possible. But it seems that in a single star, we're looking at, it's like the season. It repeats, we have this sort of, it's a repetition. We know it's coming, the winter, the season in a particular order and everything. In a dual, there's definitely more light because you have more suns, hitting it, longer luminosity cycles. They said the calendars will be more probabilistic than fixed. So that actually, it's a very interesting thing. Psychologically, the inhabitants of a dual star planet might grow up with an innate sense that stability comes from relationship, not from sameness, because everything is kind of moving, there's more flow.
I've always believed that.
In the environment, they would be, like plants might evolve to have multiple photosynthetic systems. Pigments would have to change.
Multiple photosynthetic
Yes, because
systems.
the light would be different kinds of
so
light.
So then even the food we consume would be more light.
Yes.
Which is why a vegetarian diet has to be.
But think about, there would be more radiation. There would be more subtle change in radiation, in gravity, and magnetism.
Yeah.
That would change our circadian cycle when we sleep. When we don't, all the migratory birds would not be doing the same thing. I mean, it would affect
we watched
so
these
many
Canadian
things.
geese fly by last night.
Yeah.
Their feet were so yellow. It was like a different color of yellow, even.
What could have been the angle of the light?
I'm kidding. It was
anyway,
amazing.
The question I was asking, was on, for the planet, the beings, and for us, our intelligence, or how
what would life look like?
What could it trigger? And it said this is where it becomes fascinating in terms of how it would affect our intelligence. Our cognition would be shaped by complexity. A two-sun world constantly presents non-repeating cycles, because it's not just one, now you have two, so it's more complex, interference patterns, and moving reference frames. So intelligence evolving there might naturally develop comfort with paradox, strong systems thinking, Less binary logic, more relational logic. Instead of either or, the dominant intuition might be, how do these interact? In terms of psychology and culture, such being might be less attracted to rigid schedules, view change as a baseline reality, see identity as dynamic, certainly centered on twin factor forces, cosmic dialogue, balanced through motion, light as a conversation, not a thing.
As a conversation.
Not a thing, because we're light beings. The fascia that's in our body, apparently in their skin, beside being this thing that covers like our largest organ, underneath it, it's like fiberglass. Have you ever seen a little tube of fiberglass? My grandfather, when I was a little girl, had this. I love this thing. He would turn it on, and this little fiberglass thing would open. It would do this like bouquet, and every single strand of fiberglass had light that came through it. And you ever seen those?
Back when you were a kid,
I mean, it was 1964, 65. It was like, oh my God, I was so enamored with the idea. But now that we know more and we can actually go in with microscopes and stuff, our entire body is covered with something called the fascia, and that's where a lot of the trauma is anchored. That's why a lot of massage helps, and people work specifically on that. But in that fascia are little tubes, and there is like fiber optics in it. There's actually energy and electricity that goes through it. And so the electricity that we have in our body is light. We can literally light a small bulb with the amount of electricity that flows in our body.
Isn't there a Tesla photo of him doing that?
Oh, Nikola Tesla?
Uh-huh.
Oh no, he just touches the free energy in between the tower and the thing. Oh yeah, no, that's a whole other thing. About consciousness, if you had two suns, would our consciousness be affected by it? So growing under two sun, consciousness might naturally perceive reality as layered, harmonic, interference-based, and field-like. And I'm sorry, field-like is what quantum mechanics is telling us it
that
is.
You learn how to dance the mirror.
Yes. And could such world support advanced life? Yes, absolutely. Long-term ability would require stable... I mean, this is more about the planet itself, and because they have planets that already have two suns, and I don't know how far they went. And so a two-sun world, life would learn interference, emergence, relationship, and coherence.
And isn't that what the the Galactic Federation anyway, isn't that what the channeled messages said? Is that the important thing at this time, as the time codes collapse and re-architect, that there's a new harmonic, almost like a new song.
Right.
That the earth had this but maybe now it's going.
Yeah, it's increasing.
Maybe it's going
the
to
frequency is increasing. For the audible pitch even is increasing.
Mm-hmm.
So yes,
and so then the harmonic of our heart,
right,
in coherence with our earth.
Yes,
and that's why all of the channels, even the psychics, are telling you go inside right now. This is the time to center, to meditate, to ground oneself, to be in nature, to embrace the world around you, to love all these beings that are living among you.
Yes.
Because that's where those light codes that you were just talking about. Well, the fiber optics of it.
If you think about it, we're at a very interesting intersection because, as we were saying, the indigenous that came before us and is still among us connected to the living matrix world. No, the living matrix. They lived in the living matrix.
Yeah.
We are now evolved, quote unquote, enough that we have a synthetic matrix, the internet, the virtual world, and all the great stuff that AI gives us, and all of that. And we're going towards transhumanism, which is, we're going to expand ourselves to be more, the stuff that we consider, not foolproof. We're going to, enhance it with synthetic kind of stuff that is more reliable and lives longer, like an old car that we keep fixing. But we're
going to live in our old Chevy.
We made that.
I've done that.
But the interesting thing, this is very interesting because at this intersection, because this was not the case 50 years ago, 100 years ago, but we could really see it. Those paths have been written and they're going with that. We do need to stay in the living, organic, matrix of Earth and its cycle, it will change, but we are also based on that. We're stuck to the Earth, and there's no, it's not an accident in our physical manifestation that we have that.
But often humans forget how much related to and part of you is the environment around you.
Yes.
The living beings, the grass,
it's
the
essential.
weeds,
Our
the
elements
wind,
are there.
the fire, all of those elements.
I would go further. We're doomed as a species if we don't. Because that synthetics thing is not us. Our sovereignty is within the living and in the light, and all manifested world has the source in it. And so if we go synthetic, we lose our source, and our source is everywhere around us. It's in plants, it's in animals.
You mean
it's in
synthetic
everything.
in the sense of transhumanism, and whether or not we allow
synthetic in
artificial
the sense, yes.
intelligence to be part of our physical body or not?
Yes, because engineered is not part of source. It's a layer on top of source. It's incredible. It has amazing possibilities, and I would assume that most civilizations have gone through that to be able to survive.
The soul lives within the human body.
The soul lives within. That's exactly right. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Oh, they better not be.
No, what I'm saying is, the scenario is not we just go synthetic and become robots, or we just stay in a little cave and down in the ground. I think that what we're asked to is anchor with the earth, while still understanding that there's an evolutionary journey that would be on, but we cannot lose our sovereignty and our connection to source for some added benefits that we get from outside.
I think the point is, every time humans talk about extraterrestrials and whatever, they think that there's some savior that's going to come and rapture and take us away. And rapture can happen, but if the light codes are changing and the heartbeat of the earth is changing, Schumann resonance is changing. There's also the magnetosphere of the earth, the polar magnetics
that's shifting
of
too.
the earth
Yes.
that are shifting, and if our sun is now 3/4 of the way.
That just I'm still
stunned by that.
And nobody's talking about it.
What?
Nobody. I mean, I get it because people will be freaked out. Go, oh my, the sun is going to explode. What are we going to do? But it's still in the light of the messages that we have received and gotten through the different events and people that we've met, etc. It's it makes you stop and just go, whoa,
it's go time.
Yeah, it's
because we've been
confirmation.
talking about humanity's leap of consciousness as a collective since we met. Because there was an awakening beginning in the 1980s to psychology was taking a new leap, and 60s and 70s were all about the doors of perception and
and experimenting with drugs,
experimental drugs, and moving the mind, DMT, and all these things
that beyond
that broke the barrier of humanity's ability to co-create their world, their reality.
Redefine reality, probably. It's redefine reality.
But self-mastery is supposed to be, am I architecting with the divine? Am I also a participant? And as soon as anyone gives you that permission and says, yes, you are.
Your Canva,
you're making it. You're the producer. You're the director. You're the actor. You're
the script writer,
the audience.
Yep, you're the audience, and you're the producer,
and you're all of the bit parts too. And then you start realizing that the bit part players have a point and purpose, and then you start thinking about your environment. At least it did for me, because it's not random and arbitrary.
No.
Our cells and what we're living in is literally made up of the stars. It's made up of the grass and the rocks and those beings all have varying degrees of light, and they're beings.
Yeah.
They are beings.
We're mostly made of bacteria
I'm
and
just
viruses
saying,
and all of that. They're beings too.
what I respected in every Native American culture that I've studied, even any indigenous culture really on Earth, they all seem to have an understanding and respect for man's place in nature.
Yes.
Different from the Western dogmatic dialectic of man against nature, which is very European.
That's because the church, when we do the invisible, you guys do the visible. The indigenous never separated that. Their shaman are their scientists.
I'm just saying,
and
Europeans have been messing with the earth for too long.
I think it was a normal part of the journey of discovery. And I think we had to go out to come back in. Just like the Buddha could look at a glass of water and know there were billions of bacteria and beings in it.
Yeah.
He saw it from within, his own microscope.
But that debate, like think of Royal Raymond Rife. Rife was just such a major discovery for us to find that sound healing not only was possible, but that it would be the entire future of medicine.
Well, what you're referring to, because people may have never heard of Raymond Rife, he had created an electronic microscope, and he was using living cells, and you could see that all living cells of every disease, from A to Z, every disease that was existent at his time, had a frequency,
a vibration,
and a sound,
a signature tone frequency.
It has a frequency like hertz.
And if you could match that signature tone frequency, you could alter the state. And so he literally showed how to grow a tumor and shrink a tumor in a mouse.
That's correct.
And we have film of it.
That's
it's
correct.
really crazy.
Anyway, it was way ahead of its time, and obviously it got hushed because it would have literally
put the hands back in the people.
It would have canceled all of the pharmaceutical, the going after a disease from the outside in versus changing the frequency, because like destroys like. An opera singer can destroy a glass because the note in her voice are the same in the glass, and that glass shatters.
Exactly.
And he was just doing that. He goes,
and
it
that
has a frequency.
brings up Masaru Emoto and this idea of biofeedback and whether or not we are affecting our environment, because
everything listens and has memory.
Masaru Emoto proved, as far as I'm concerned, it's science.
Oh yeah,
that words are things. And that they literally affect the environment. And how he did that was showing that a thought or a word or an idea put onto a vial glass of water and then frozen had either a beautiful crystalline structure.
And they took a picture of that.
Or it had this distorted, horrible structure. And the distorted, horrible structure always was a product of negative emotion. It was, I hate you, fuck you, whatever.
But the point is that
were awful.
All things listen, and there is a memory, because he took dirty water, had it blessed, and that dirty water that had no crystalline structure, still dirty, became crystalline structure, reformed itself to its original pre-pollution kind of
and those
level.
Of us in the global peace movement were astounded when this information came out. He was on The Secret. That's
where we first kind of
that was part of the enlightening entertainment movement.
No, I mean it was a great way to explain some very complex concepts in a very simple way.
But it was more than that, because if you think about it, James Twyman, and they called James Twyman the Peace Troubadour, and he was in Southern Oregon in Ashland. And Neil Donald Walsh had just created his book,
The Conversation with God.
Conversation with God.
Whole series, yes.
And it was his channeled sort of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jose Arguelles lived in Ashland, and so did James Twyman.
Yes.
And so did Neil Donald Walsh. And so they created a Day Out of Time conference in Ashland.
3 days.
In 5/5/2005. May 5th of 2005.
Okay.
Because 5 is an architecture time. And time codes were going to begin to be rewritten at that conference, according to Jose Arguelles.
Yes, yes.
And I was very captured by him because he wrote a book called The Mayan Factor. And when Sophie and I were reading The Mayan Factor to each other out loud, driving through Edwards Air Force Base,
the Four Corners,
near Area 51,
in our clunky van,
in my Volkswagen van, we had a celestial encounter.
Yes,
and it was really enlightening. Literally, there was a giant green meteor falling out of the sky that hit the atmosphere, and the entire Earth lit up.
The entire horizon, our event horizon,
and then went back to black.
And by the way, we were in a place that had zero light pollution because there was nothing around. I mean, there was nobody lived. It was like
deserts. And since that was like 30 years ago, it started this activation, and from that, then I started writing my book, The Hole Behind the Mirror. And so I went to the first chapter of that I wrote 22 years ago, and I just found it with all of our Indian stuff, with all the incredible ceremonies that we were in. And part of that was also I hand wrote the Hopi prophecy keeper when he was giving the prophecy.
That's right.
I hand wrote notes. And because when I was in college, I was so afraid I would miss what the professor said that I would write whole sentences longhand.
Seriously, you're amazing for that.
and so really, people would buy my notes when I was in college because professors are really egotistical and they'll only test you on what they said. Oh. And so because I wrote everything they said,
it helped.
It helped. I still have some of those notebooks. I trained you.
I know.
One of those notebooks.
I know.
Anyway, the point is that we have been among these prophecy keepers and been in ceremony with them, and it has been some of the most enlightening moments of my life.
Yes.
And it has been for you.
Yes.
And it has been for a number of people that we were meditating with.
Yes.
We were meditating a lot in the 90s, especially. The 90s were super, super important as an era. And for those of us who were part of the early internet, especially.
Yeah.
And for those of us that were part of the consciousness movement, especially. Because the idea people were all coming around, and the Bay Area was totally freaking lit up.
Yeah.
It's totally lit up. And what's interesting to me about that, too, is the supercomputer, because we ended up at Sun. Sun bought all of Cray's line. That started in Oregon.
That's right. You were telling me that, yeah.
No, I'm just saying. It's so interesting. And then you look at Berkeley Unix. Berkeley Unix, the operating system that was developed by all of the genius mathematicians, including Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, at the University of California, Berkeley, they had developed an intelligence system for giant computing systems. And it was actually created by a lot of the engineers at Ma Bell. You know, what AT&T.
AT&T, pre-AT&T.
And the split off that Novell became, the hardware provider of that. And a lot of the intelligence services and the old computers the intelligence services had were all driven around all of that.
Right.
Those were all being, the genesis of Unix was happening.
Started there,
And there was a war of, I call it a war, they called it the Unix Wars when System 5, when the fifth version of that came out. Because there was a huge debate in the intelligence community and in computing in general about open versus closed.
That's right.
And whether or not IBM, Microsoft, and Intel kind of wanted to sequester the internet and put a tax on the developing world because 78% of them were not yet on the internet.
Right.
And so I'd sit in these conferences listening to these, you know, you could call them the elites now,
right.
But the boardrooms where these decisions were being made and the standards were being set And what happened was, because the International Electrical Engineering Association governed standards for computing, and there was a huge debate in the 70s and early 80s about a universal power supply.
Yeah.
What we could do to create one cord so that you didn't blow up the hotel every time you went international.
Yeah,
because we've done that.
And have to bring a gazillion thing to plug it into.
And I literally blew up the hotel.
Oh, I know. It's happened.
I mean, it was, I didn't mean to.
I know.
I didn't know. So I plugged in my dryer and literally blew the circuit.
Anyone that traveled in those years have had that happen at least once.
Right. And so that electrical standard
Right.
was a global collaboration.
Right.
And it had to be open and it had to be transparent.
That's
because
right.
no country could control it.
Right.
And so that same debate was happening in the early internet, particularly in the idea of a World Wide Web. That
Right.
got all of the old World War II people all freaked out. I'm not kidding. Really, the intelligence services were all
Sure.
very much that. And we were in the middle of the Cold War.
Post-war.
But this is Reagan and the first Bush, you know?
Yeah.
And he was literally driving the intelligence services under Nixon.
Sure.
We were in the...
That's right.
That was where we began, was in that time. And so because we had this unique perspective and leverage, I would have really spent my life doing the international peace movement if I had been able to make a living off of it.
Yeah.
But we couldn't.
Yes.
So anyway, but I really believe that we're at a point in time where open versus closed, that ship has sailed.
Yes.
Now,
Absolutely.
I mean, look at Bitcoin and
Absolutely.
all of financial trade.
Yeah. But
along with it.
You also need to explain, because you assume people understand the whole thing about Unix. The operating system that is behind all the stock market, all the
global
ports,
financial
the
system.
global financial system, the systems that cannot go down. Like, you know, if you have a Windows, you know, it goes down, you reboot, you go.
If you have a telephone, it has to be always on.
It has to be always on.
And Ma Bell was very concerned with that
critical
before
things that
AT&T.
cannot go down have to be on a system that cannot go down.
And Sun Microsystems had the only version of Unix that was 99.9% always on.
Right. So it's not just the entire financial market. It's all of the energy systems. It's space.
It's how nuclear systems run. It's how
everything.
The bases.
So it's not
Air Force bases.
It's not like another operating system, because we know your Apple, your PC, your Windows, your Apple, but Unix is it's like the plumbing of the whole system.
So basically, what happened is there was this math system. And back when I first started in computing, there was only 256K on the first computer.
Yep.
256.
Yeah.
256K.
It's like,
I mean, this has a couple terabytes. The word terabyte.
Yeah, it didn't even exist. No.
Megabyte. I remember when the word megabyte was created, that was at the very beginning of my career in 1981 or
But I remember you dragging on a little dolly to a computer show somewhere. What is it, like 100 megabyte? And it was like it was marine batteries. It was like a marine battery size and weight.
And it was so heavy. It was like 40 pounds. Yeah, and so I could not carry that through airports.
You had to drag
especially in France. Fucking
no elevator. You have to go down the stairs.
God, so annoying. So annoying.
Welcome to beautiful.
If you've never been to Europe, but back in the 80s, man, there was no international banking system.
No, there was credits and there was
telex, which was almost like. It was almost like Morse code.
Well, I don't even know how telex worked. It was like precursor to fax machine, but it was very different. Whoa,
kind of like the wire. Remember the wire? They had the wire,
I don't. Yeah, there was a smoke signal on the mountain.
It was before our time, but it was Pony Soldier telegraph type of ways of doing international business. And anyway, what you were talking about Unix and why it's significant is that all of the operating systems of every computer on Earth all goes down to one code set, one mathematical code set. And that code set was originally created at the University of California, Berkeley. Mm-hmm. And there were many versions, and they called it forking the source. Yeah, they would fork off and create their own world variation on top of the math. Right. But the fact is, the math, it's called X because X is just an integer for any math. So over X is the Mac OS. Over X is the Windows OS.
That's right.
Over X is the Unix versions of Common Desktop, CDE, Common Desktop environment that went over X. Mm-hmm. And what Java did, what Sun was so innovative about, was being able to go down into X and be able to create a relationship above input and output. If you could create a abstraction layer, and they could literally called it that, abstract above that, then all the developers could write to that, and that would standardize down into the math. Right. So that the computer, the natural language processing of computational linguistics, which is what artificial intelligence is now, it's semantic databases.
Absolutely.
Semantic databases over X. But if you can get that math to happen without a human, it will go so much faster.
Yes, and more efficient.
And that's what Sun did. That was the incredible innovation of what they did over Unix. Yeah. And that was the central place of debate between an open architecture versus a closed architecture. Right. And that's what Sophie's referring to, is that Unix is a mathematical architectural system of dealing with equation. Mm-hmm. And when we were talking about linguistic technology, each of the letters of every alphabet on Earth is called a glyph. And every one of those glyphs has a code. And every one of those codes need to interrelate with one another so that a human in one place can input in their language and another human in another place can input in theirs. Right. And this is before gesture computing. Gesture computing, stroke-based computing was really invented by Kazunori Yukigawa in Japan. And what it meant to actually get the keyboard out of the way.
Right. And for languages that compose,
Hideki
characters, you can't type those. You do it with a brush. In the old days, and then you write, and the computer now has to be able to do that. And that's what she's referring to.
Right, and be able to
composing that,
and be able to compose and input and output.
Think of it as a puzzle. If you have a little character and it's made of, let's say, 6 pieces. You literally have to enter 6 keys to do the top, the middle, the bottom, da-da. And that's how they had to write.
And it was about grid lines because basically a letter was dots of light, and you would have 8 dots on a little grid, and they were either on or off. And in binary, that would look like an A, or it'd look like a B, or it'd look like a C. Yeah. The problem was in French, for example, you have accent aigu, accent grave. You have an E with a little stroke.
A little hat. And
you have the umlaut,
and 2 dots over it. And a lot of the other languages.
And so many other representations of how those things work. Yeah. And humans are the issue. If you can get humans out of the way, computers can go super fast. Yeah. And that's what AI is doing without us.
And that's what quantum computers are doing even more.
Without us.
Yeah.
And maybe even, well, think of those religious artifacts. Right after the 3i Atlas thing happened in November of 25, we were just getting downloaded with just videos coming across our feed, But so coincidental to what was going on in our conversation that it was like, And it's like, oh, well, I remember Willie saying, oh, yeah, well, that's no big deal. AI's listening. So
it is.
So it's serving to you whatever it is that you're looking for.
It is, but in the sea of stuff, if you're tracking something, you are going to find it, but that stuff is still happening.
But when you find it, you should let other people know.
Because when you focus on expand, so that's very important for be careful what you focus on.
Yeah. So anyway, we believe that there is something happening right now. That there is no accident that the cosmic alignment of all of the planets, the particular timing of the Mayan calendar system coming to an end on the solstice, December 21st of 2012, and that December 21st of 25 is exactly 13 years afterward. That's what I find really significant because of the 13-note musical scale and because of the new math of how time will be counted.
That will be interesting.
Because it's all about time, isn't it?
Well, and our definition of time will change.
I'm just saying, reality itself is about our relationship to time. And karma.
Yeah.
And light and shadow. And karma lives in the shadow.
But more light's coming.
And more light comes onto that, and it is released.
Yeah.
So releasing of the trauma codes is only one part of the work. I think a lot of us that have been on the practice for a long time, and even those that aren't, there's this awakening happening, and we aren't the only ones. There's a lot of you out there, and we're all supposed to share notes. I think
that's right. It's out there, and we're it.
And so it is.
So it is.
Stay tuned.
Thank you for spending time with us on Herstory Revisited. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show, share it with someone else who loves a good story, or leave a review. It helps us to keep this channel going. Thank you for coming by, and until next time, stay curious and keep asking questions. We'll see you soon.